How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant, where we're back and going into August, soon. I mean, it's still technically the middle of July. We got about one more week or so left, but hope everybody's been doing great. Hope everybody's been enjoying their time at the movies. I have seen Superman 13 times since it came out. No kidding. Imagine if that was real.
It's like you're single-handedly just putting that box off. You're going to get it to 1 billion, just you alone.
I mean, it is one of those movies this year I would love to contribute to that. But no, I have seen it I did see it for the third time today, just, because my brother didn't get to see it. So it was that's one of those movies kind of like Sinners and I would say F1 are kind of in the movies where I'm like, I'll see it a couple times just because it's a fun watch. But we're not going to be talking about fun watches. We're going to be talking about something pretty serious and heavy. Also kind of funny depending on who you ask, which me and Byrne had an interesting conversation about. And that is the latest A24 movie, Eddington, directed by Ari Aster, who did Hereditary, Midsommar, and which I can't believe Midsommar already came out I forgot when Midsommar came out. Was it 2018, 2019, maybe? I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah, but it's been a minute since he came out with something. Also stars Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Luke Grimes, and Emma Stone as well, and Deirdre O'Connell from The Penguin last year, for those who saw that and remember that. This is a non-spoiler review, so if you did happen to watch the movie, like it, or if you just like seeing me and Byrne talk all the time, feel free to give us that thumbs up, show your support, ring the bell for notifications, and of course subscribe, just to share your support with us, and keep tuning in every time we post something. So yeah, so this is a movie that took place in the midst of the pandemic, in early 2020, middle of that year. Small town in New Mexico, all called Eddington, where Joaquin plays Joe Cross, who is the town's sheriff, who's disgruntled by all the COVID mandates and everything. And he decides to run for mayor, which kind of sets a downward spiral, not only for himself, but people in the town as well. And yeah, the way the trailers kind of depicted it, I've only seen I think the teaser's the only real trailer that came out. Maybe they did one other one that I never saw. But given Ari Aster's history too with Midsommar and Hereditary, I was thinking, is this going to be a psychological horror? Is this going to be a real hardcore drama? Because again, COVID was definitely a very quote unquote interesting time in our lives. And it impacted us all differently to a certain extent. And how do I put this? It was also supposed to be a modern Western, which looking back, I kind of can see that there are elements in the characterization and the setting and stuff like that. But yeah, after I saw it, me and Byrne, we kind of came to the conclusion it is a bit of a satire. And it was okay. I think, again, this is just me. Like all of my rantings and stuff, they're all opinion based, so feel free to disagree with me. I just thought it was okay. I just didn't really vibe with it because I kind of, given also that COVID was a very serious time for me, it was one of those things what does this really had to say? I thought the messaging wasn't really there for me. And I don't know if I'm the only one thinking that, but, Byrne had a really good analysis of it after, because I remember I told him, maybe you'll see something that I don't with this movie, so I hope you like it. And, before I speak for Byrne more so, Byrne, what did you think about this movie?
Yeah, I mean, going into it, I was definitely interested because of who the director is, Ari Aster, the director and writer who did, a couple of movies that I really liked in Hereditary and Midsommar, and another one that I found a lot of admiration for, but I didn't really gel with it completely, in Beau was Afraid. But it's so interesting to see his sort of course as a director. I know how we always talk about the sort of switch from going from comedies to horrors, and how a lot of those tool sets that those directors have, they can bring one from the comedy sense into the horror sense. And I don't think we've ever really seen it go in the opposite direction. And that's just a funny thing to think about with the way that Ari Aster has gone with his sort of career trajectory, starting with probably an instant classic in horror with Hereditary, and now coming in with Eddington, which, like you mentioned, it is very much a black comedy sort of social satire movie. And I was like you, completely surprised coming into it because, like you, I thought it was going to be a little bit more like a psychological thriller, maybe like a political drama, and it definitely had those elements. But man, I was telling you after I saw this movie that this is probably the second hardest I've laughed in the theater since A24's other movie, Friendship, with Tim Robinson. A lot of this movie it just really clicked with me, and I see there's a lot of heated debate. No, I don't know if it's heated debate, but there's a lot of discussion around this movie. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Civil War from last year, where a lot of people come away from the movie saying that they weren't really sure what the message was, whether they were confused about what it was really trying to say. Some even being a little bit feeling bait and switched, where they thought they were getting an action movie there, and they got a little bit more of a drama in that one. And this one, where they think they're getting more of a western or a little bit more of something horror, and they're coming away. This is a comedy, you know. So I feel like it's interesting to see where we have two A24 movies, a year separated, sort of bringing up those same discussions where. I kind of fall along the same side that I did with Civil War. I feel like this movie definitely had a clear perspective in what it was trying to say. I think if we look at it on a surface level, we're not really sort of meeting the movie where it's trying to take us, and I think there's a lot more nuance there than I would have thought initially going in, and I would have thought initially from the first half of the movie and sort of the way that it presents itself. It's one of those that the more the movie goes on, the more it starts to reveal itself and what it's trying to say, and I thought that was very interesting, and I think it forces us to sort of stick with this main character who is not really the hero of this story, and I know that's always a little bit of a tough thing for audiences. But I think Joaquin Phoenix is just so engaging in that way that you can watch him and just disagree with everything that he does, but he's a little bit endearing, and the character is a little bit he's written in a way where you almost see where they're coming from and where his perspective is, and I think that was sort of an interesting take for this movie, and for a character like this where you don't really like this guy but you feel for him, and I think that was a real credit to Ari Aster and his writing. And even though a lot of other characters aren't really serviced as well, I would say this movie does try to juggle a lot of things. Again, the hot button topics might sort of distract from a lot of the character stories going on here. I think it really does a great job in letting us peer into the lives of people who fall on sort of that side that Joaquin Phoenix is trying to portray, and giving us a perspective that people wouldn't normally take, and it's sort of like it's a humanistic movie in a way if you think about it. So yeah, I was very caught off guard by just how deep the movie was, where I thought it was going to be a very surface level when hearing a lot of the chatter around it before watching it. So yeah, definitely took me by surprise on a lot of aspects, I'll say.
Yeah, and that's again that, and I'm really glad you enjoyed it, Burn. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad movie. And I honestly don't feel bait and switched either. I just thought it was more of like what's the situation? I do agree, like I think you kind of captured it perfectly. Like I do fall in line with those people who didn't enjoy Civil War, even though I really loved that movie, and I had to explain to people like this was the point that they were trying to bring up. Like it's kind of like a story that can go both ways. I just, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think maybe I was just had my expectations for a certain extent and why I couldn't get into it. I also did hate Joaquin Phoenix's character because such a moron. But even with my personal, nitpicks on it or anything like that, I still think it was a very well done film. I mean, the cinematography was great. There were some funny moments in it too, where it was just like, oh my god, just those things. It's like, really, like you guys don't. It's almost like that ignorance is bliss situation with a lot of these jokes. Like the characters are so dumb they don't get what's happening. Yeah, I definitely agree also, and like I told you after I saw it, definitely a lot of the actors, I would say in particular Pedro Pascal and Emma Stone, I don't feel like were necessarily utilized as much as I thought they were gonna be. I thought everybody was gonna have more prominent, like it was gonna be more equal footing for everybody. But this is definitely Joaquin Phoenix's film. I mean, hands down. Like if you watch it, you know he takes center stage, and he kills it as well. You know, I hate you love to hate him in this movie, but depending on who you ask, I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of people that walk away thinking he was the right in the whole time. So, to each their own on that. Ranting wise, I've been kind of struggling with it, you know, since I've seen it, but I think I'm going to I'll give it a 3 out of 5, just out of respect for the director and and just, you know, the technical aspect of it, you know, the cinema, like I said, the acting, the cinematography. There were some really good moments in the writing, and also the ending scene, even though it was very comedic, it was actually some pretty solid action for the last, like, you know, 15 20-ish minutes. So it's a fun movie regardless. It's just, for me personally, it's just not one of my favorites of the year, though. This is definitely, for me, it's more of a lower 3. So for those of you who are fans of Ari Aster, you know, like Burn, most of you will probably like it. Hopefully you do. But yeah, like I said, 3 out of 5 for me. It's just okay.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite of the end of that. I think it's probably one of my favorite movies of the year. Not at the top, but definitely up there. And I would even, it might be even a hot take to say that this might be my favorite Ari Aster movie, or at least definitely the one I enjoyed watching the most, just because of how ridiculous it gets and just how funny it was. And again, just I really love to think about this movie and a lot of the characters and their interactions. I think it's very deep and methodical in that sense, where like you can think back on certain scenes or certain interactions and get more out of it, you know, having seen it. And I think it's one of those that might even reward rewatch, or might even just get better with time, just because things are still very much in the midst of what the movie is talking about. So definitely a lot to chew on with this movie for me, I think. And yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned the cinematography, because this movie is just gorgeous. And it's funny because it's one of the more I would say down to earth movies that Ari Aster has made. You know, it definitely leads into fantastical and Beau is Afraid, and parts of Midsommar and Hereditary get a little bit crazy, but this one is very much set in, like, you know, a real world, and it just looks gorgeous the way that they shot it. I think that they shot it in New Mexico. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it does give you that sort of that modern Western feel, even though it's wrapped up in sort of a more satirical black comedy sense. Again, I really had a great time with this movie. And if you asked me going in if I thought I was going to like it, I would have straight up told you I don't think it's probably going to be that good. But man, I was really kind of taken aback by this, and yeah, I like always, I'm still looking forward to what Ari Aster does, and I was not disappointed in this one like I was with Beau is Afraid. So for me, this one's going to be a really, really high 4 out of 5. Don't really know if it'll go higher or lower based on rewatches, but again, this is one that I wouldn't mind rewatching, just because of how much fun I had with it, and again, just the things that it has to say about modern society and just how sort of COVID broke everything.
Yeah, it definitely captured that essence a little bit. Like, I mean, that is the main point of the movie, is that it really not COVID really, how people react. It's more of like how people react to, you know, how do I put this? Like very like not impractical, but very oh my god, I'm blanking on the word. Basically just random situations, and how each one can really process things. So yeah, I mean, Burn, at first I thought, you know, I don't think I'll ever want to watch this movie again, but the more you talk about it and praise it, you know, you do kind of bring some aspects to light. Maybe I will rewatch it in the near future. You'll probably have to force me to watch it like Man of Steel and MacGruber, so we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, for 3 out of 5 for me, 4 out of 5 for Burn, which is a very rare switch, because usually I rate things higher, he'll rate things lower, which is fine.
It's a rare occasion, everybody.
It's
Mark
a very
it
rare
down.
occasion. Yeah, it's good stuff, Brent. Like I said, I'm glad you really liked it. So for those of you who did happen to watch it, please let us know your thoughts. You know, do you agree more with Burn? Like, are you more on like in Burn's like viewings of things? Like, you know, you really like this one, not expecting what to expect, or are you kind of like the rest of like myself and people who watched Civil War last year who maybe didn't get it, but I love Civil War, so that's different. Please let us know what you guys thought about in the comments. We got Fantastic Four coming out this week. You know, Peacemaker Season 2 is coming back, so I'm really excited for that one. And a couple more things. August seems going to be like a fun month as well. So until next time, everybody, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch you all on the the next one.